You know, you probably don't think about it much, but every single day, your home is in this silent, invisible battle with the world around it. It's this constant push and pull, and the main battleground? It's a system you almost never see, your plumbing.
So let me ask you a question, and it might sound a little dramatic. Is your home literally at war with the ground it's built on? For millions of us, the answer is actually, yeah, kinda. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly what that fight looks like. And to really get a handle on this, we're going to zoom in on one specific place, Helotes, Texas. Now, Helotes is like a perfect storm of environmental challenges that really puts a home's plumbing to the ultimate test. But the lessons we can learn from this town, they can help pretty much any homeowner, anywhere.
So, in this battle, you've got two main opponents that almost every homeowner faces. And the tricky part is, they're completely hidden. One is the ground under your feet, and the other is the water flowing through your pipes.
Okay, so opponent number one is something called expansive clay soil. The best way to think about it is like a giant, powerful sponge right underneath your house. When it gets wet, it swells up and pushes everything upwards. But when it dries out, it shrinks, it cracks, and it pulls away. This constant movement, up, down, puts a massive amount of stress on your home's foundation and, you guessed it, all the pipes buried in it.
And then there's opponent number two, hard water. In a place like Helotes, the water comes from the Edwards Aquifer and it is just loaded with dissolved minerals, mostly calcium and magnesium. Now, it's perfectly safe to drink, but over time, these minerals build up inside your pipes, your faucets, your appliances, slowly but surely choking them from the inside out. So you've got shifting soil on one side and mineral-packed water on the other. So what happens when these two forces come together and meet the pipes inside a typical house? Well, let's find out. Okay, let's break this down because it's a perfect cause and effect situation. That expansive soil we talked about, it directly leads to cracked underground pipes and can even mess with your foundation. Then you've got the hard water, which causes clogged faucets and makes expensive appliances like your water heater fail way sooner than they should. And then you throw in the Texas temperature extremes, you know, the big swings, that stresses and can even burst any pipes that are exposed. It is a true triple threat. And to make things even more complicated, you've got this wild mix of different pipe materials, sometimes all in the same neighborhood. Older homes might have old galvanized steel pipes that are rusting from the inside out, or even clay pipes that are basically a magnet for tree roots. Newer homes, they're using modern PVC or PEX. The thing is, each one of these materials has its own weakness, creating this really complex and unpredictable web of potential problems right under your feet. So all these invisible forces, they don't stay invisible for long. They create some very visible and, let's be honest, very frustrating problems. Let's decode some of the common warning signs you might actually be seeing in your own home. All right, picture this. Out of nowhere, your water bill shoots through the roof. Or maybe you feel this weirdly warm spot on your kitchen floor. Or you hear the sound of water running even though you know for a fact that every single faucet is turned off. These aren't just little quirks, they are major clues. So what's really going on? Well, the most likely cause is something called a slab leak. Remember that expansive clay soil? It's probably shifted just enough to crack a water line hidden deep under your home's concrete foundation. And that means you could be paying for thousands of gallons of water that are just pouring straight into the ground. Okay, here's another one. And this one is, well, it's a lot less pleasant. We're talking about a nasty, persistent smell coming from your drains. Or even worse, a full-blown sewer backup into your house. Yikes. And here's the crazy part. A lot of the time, the problem isn't even in your house. See, tree roots are naturally drawn to the moisture and nutrients in sewer lines. They can sneak their way into the tiniest little cracks, especially in those older clay pipes, and just grow and grow until they create a massive blockage that sends everything back the way it came. Or hey, maybe this sounds familiar. Your shower just feels kind of weak, your faucets don't have the oomph they used to, and you've got that ugly, white, crusty buildup on all of your fixtures. Yep, the culprit here is hard water scale buildup. Those minerals we talked about, the calcium and magnesium, are literally building up layer by layer inside your pipes. They're making the openings smaller and smaller, and they're clogging up the little screens in your faucets. This doesn't just kill your water pressure, it's also shortening the life of your appliances. Okay, so with all these hidden enemies attacking your home, how in the world do you fight back? This is where we get into the professional's playbook, the modern tools and techniques they use to figure out and fix these really complex issues. This is where things get really cool.
Modern plumbing is not about guesswork anymore. Pros use tools like these, tiny little video cameras that they can run right through your sewer line to see exactly what's wrong. They use super-sensitive electronic gear to literally hear hidden water leaks under a concrete slab. And they use thermal cameras to spot moisture behind your walls without having to tear anything open. It's all about surgical precision.
Now, when it comes to clearing out clogs, there are really two main ways to go. You're probably familiar with snaking, right? A plumber feeds a metal auger in and basically just punches a hole through the blockage. But hydrojetting, that's on a whole other level. It uses super high-pressure water to scour the entire inside of the pipe clean. It blasts away grease, scale, and even tough tree roots. It's a real, long-term solution, not just a temporary fix. And look, any professional approach should be totally transparent. It should start with clear communication, then a thorough diagnosis where they explain the problem and you approve the price before any work begins. And the job's not done until it's tested and backed up with a solid guarantee. No surprises. So, the big question is, how do you find the right person, the right ally for this battle? The lessons from our Helotes case study actually give us a really practical guide for any homeowner, no matter where you happen to live. So here's your checklist, and it goes way beyond just, can you fix a leak? First, look for proof that they have a current state license. That's for your protection. You've got to insist on upfront, flat-rate pricing so there are no nasty surprises on the final bill. Always, always get a written guarantee on the work. And this is huge. Ask them if they understand your local building codes and the unique environmental conditions in your area. That local expertise is absolutely priceless.
And if you're thinking, does all that licensing and permit stuff really matter? Oh, it matters. Listen to this. Work performed without required permits creates liability during home sales and may violate insurance requirements. What that means in plain English is that cutting corners can create huge legal and financial problems for you down the road. A real pro protects you from all that.
So at the end of the day, this all boils down to one last question for you to think about. Is your approach to your home's plumbing proactive, or are you just reactive, just waiting for the next disaster to strike? Because understanding this unseen battle that's happening under your floors and behind your walls, that's the absolute first step to making sure your home wins the fight.